All right, guys, we are at it with lesson 17 in module 2. And today's objective is hopefully you're going to be able to use and find basic math facts to help find the quotient in division problems. So quotient relates to the answer to division problems, and we're going to be using basic math facts to find those answers. So let's get over to lesson 17. All right, so they want us to estimate the quotient. What is the answer going to be about in the division problem? And they give us specific information that they want us to round the divisor first. So I'm going to put a little star in the first example. The second number in the division sentence is called the divisor. So we're going to round always the second number first, and then round the dividend, which is the bigger number, second. So if we look at 913 divided by 29, we're rounding 29 first. Well, 29 is close to 30, and we're going to go ahead and make that be our rounded number. I want you to go ahead and circle the number 3, because we're going to use 3 as one of our basic math facts. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, because off to the side, I'm just going to start listing a couple multiples of 3. So I know the first one's 3, 6, 9, 12, and I'm going to stop there. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the first number, the first digit in 913, and that's 9. Is 9 one of the multiples of 3? Yes, it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, 913 is close to 900. And we're going to go ahead and circle the 9, because 9 divided by 3 is a basic math fact. You should know that 9 divided by 3 is 3. And now I'm going to go ahead and cross off 1 0 and 30 and 1 0 and 900. And our quotient, our answer, is going to be 30. Let's move over to C. We're going to round the divisor first, 37. 37 is closer to 40. I'm going to use that 4 as a basic math fact. So I'm going to quickly list a few multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16. All right, so now let's look at the first digit in 826. Is 8 a basic math fact for 4? Yes, it is. So we're going to say 826 is close to 800 because 8 divided by 4 are basic math facts. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then you cross off your 0 and 40 and 1 0 and 800. So the quotient is going to be 20. So moving over to D. Remember, we're rounding the divisor first. That's 73. So 73 is closer to 70 than it is to 80. I'm going to list my multiples of 7. I'm going to do 7, 14, 21, 28. And I'm going to look at the first digit, which is 1. Is 1 a multiple of 7? No, it's not. So let's say, okay, what about 14? We can go out to the second digit in 141. And is 14 a multiple of 7? It is. So we're going to round this guy to 140 because 14 divided by 7 is a basic math fact. That's 2. You cross off your 0 and 70 and your 0 and 140, and we have the quotient of 2. All right, moving over to E, let's round our divisor first, and that is 58. 58 is closer to 60. And so I'm going to list my multiples. I got 6, 12, 18, 24. And hopefully you're saying, oh, 24, I see 24 in 240. And then 24 is a multiple. So we're going to say 241 is close to 240 because the basic math fact is 24 divided by 6, which is 4. And then you cross off your 0 and 60 and your 0 and 240, and the quotient is 4. All right, let's look at the next one. 62 is rounded to 60. And I'm going to use 6 as my basic math fact. So since I did 6 over here, I can continue with my multiples of 6. After 24 is 30. After 30 is 36. After 36 is 42. After 42 is 48. And you're probably saying we're going to stop there at 48 because I see 48 in 482. So we're going to say the basic math fact is 400 or 48, and then it's closer to 480. 482 is closer to 480 since we're going to use this basic math fact of 48 divided by 6, which is 8. And you're crossing off your 0 and 60 and your 0 and 480. So the answer is about 8. Let's come over to G. Let's round our divisor 81 and let's round it to 80 and use our basic math fact of 8. I'm going to count by 8s. I've got 8. I got 16. I've got 24. I got 32. I got 40. I got 48. I got 56, 64, 72. And I'm going to stop there because looking at the number, I'm not going to be able to get to 6 or 65. I can get close to 65 because 64 is super close to 65. So I can round this down to be 656. This number can be rounded to 640 because I found a basic math fact of 64 divided by 8. 64 divided by 8, if you count how many times we did this to 64, it's going to be 8 times, and you cross off your zeros, so your quotient is going to be about 8. So sometimes we don't get a perfect number that's going to match part of the number in the dividend, the bigger number. We just kind of have to find what's close to, like 64 was close to 65 for us to be able to round down and find what we call basic math facts. Let's move down to J. J, 76 is also closer to 80, and we're going to use the 8 as the basic math fact. And since we have all of our information up here for the 8s, let's not copy it down again. Let's just use what we have up here. And looking at 311, the closest one I can get to, if I look at 31 right here, there is no 31, but there is a 32. So I could round 31 to 32 and add that 0 so that you can think of 311 can be rounded up to 320 to find or to have basic math facts of 32 divided by 8, which is going to give you 4. And you cross off your zeros, and there are no zeros to add in the quotient, so the answer or the quotient is going to be about 4. Let's drop down to M, and let's round 25. Since 25 is in between 20 and 30, the rule is we round up, so we're going to round up to 30. And we're going to use 3 as our basic math fact. So I'm going to count by 3s, 3, 6, 9. And I'm going to stop there because if you see, 5 is close to 6. So I could round this guy up to 600. It's going to be a far round up, which is okay. But all we're trying to do is find compatible numbers. So we have 6 divided by 3. Well, that's 2. Cross off 1 0 and 30 and 1 0 and 600. So you get the quotient of 20. All right, let's look at N. N, let's round the divisor of 85 first. 85 is in between 80 and 90, so let's round it to 90. And our basic math fact is going to be 9. So let's go ahead and list the multiples of 9. You have 9, you have 18, you have 27, you have 36, you have 45, you have 54, and guess what? I'm going to stop there because I'm looking at the 55 and 552, and that's close to 54. So let's round this number down. 552 rounds down to 540. So we can use that basic math fact of 54 divided by 9, which if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 times. And we cross off our zeros. All right, here we go with some word problems. Let's go ahead and look at number 2. Number 2 says a video game store has a budget of $825. Go ahead and circle that. and would like to purchase new video games. If each video game cost $41, okay, so each video game, I'm going to circle 41, I'm going to box in the word each video game. They want us to estimate the total number of video games the store can purchase with its budget. They want us to explain our thinking. Explanation can be with words, can be with numbers and pictures. So let's say that we do a tape diagram to model our thinking. So if this tape diagram represents the total budget, well, we know how much money they have. They have $825. And then we're told that each video game cost $41. So we do know that each video game, or the first video game, will cost $41. The second one's going to cost $41. And so our job is to figure out how many video games they can actually purchase. Now, if we did the long division the precise way, we would get the exact number of video games. But they don't want, because they told us that they want us to estimate. So if we estimate, then we're using those compatible numbers or those basic math facts that we did on the previous page. So if we did 825 and we divided it by 41, let's show that our rounding, remember we always round the divisor. The divisor is 41. So let's draw a blank and say, okay, 41 is close to 40. And we're going to use the 4 as a basic math fact. Now I'm going to quickly just write, a couple multiples of 4. We got 4, 8, 12, 16. And looking at the first digit is 8. Is 8 one of the multiples of 4? It is. So we're going to say 825 is close to 800. And so showing our thinking, we're going to say 8 divided by 4. We know that's a basic math fact. That's 2. And then we're going to cross off a 0 and 40 and cross off a 0 and 800. Now 2 can't be our quotient, because if you went 2 times 40, that would be 80, and we want 800. So that means that we need to add a 0 from 800 that we didn't slash off. So there is about 20 video games that the store can actually purchase. So let's go ahead and write out a sentence. There is no question, but we are going to write out a sentence to tell, whoever's looking at our work that the 20 represents the number of video games that the store can actually purchase. So our sentence can be something very similar to this. The store would be able to purchase, and notice that I put the word about in capital letters. You don't need to do that, but you do need the word about because we estimated here. If you did not put the word about and said 20 video games, you're telling us precisely they can buy 20 video games. But we estimated, so the word about needs to be in there, and video games needs to be at the end of 20 with a period at the end of your sentence. And moving down to number 3, the last word problem, it says Jackson estimated 637 divided by 78 as 640 divided by 80. He reasoned that 64 tens divided by 8 tens would be 8 tens. So let's go ahead and box that. 64 tens divided by 8 tens would be the answer, or should be 8 tens. We need to say, is Jackson's reasons correct? If so, explain why. If not, explain a correct solution. All right, so first, let's write what Jackson did. He did 64 tens, and write this down, divided by 8 tens equals 8 tens. All right, this is unit form. Now let's turn them into actual standard form numbers. So 64 tens is actually 640. 8 tens is 80. And then 8 tens again is 80. So here it is in normal standard form. Let's think about this. If he thinks this is the answer, the quotient, let's work backwards and say, okay, if I'll do it in black. If 80 times 80, does that equal 640? Well, let's do the calculation right here. 8 times 8, yes, that is 64. And then since we're multiplying the 80 times the 80, we're not going to take away zeros. We are going to be adding the zeros. And so actually it turns out that 80 times 80 is 6,400. So 80 times 80 does not equal, this slash going through the equal sign means does not equal 640. So let's find the correct solution for the problem. So if we know that 637 divided by 78, if we know that we need to round, we're going to divide or round the divisor first. That's closer to 80, and that basic math fact would be 8. And then 637, since the compatible number that we see over here, 64, we're going to say, okay, 637 is closer to 640. So 640 or 64 is our basic math fact. So that means that 64 divided by 8 is 8. We're going to slash the 0 in 80 and the 0 in 640. So the correct quotient is 8. And actually, if you want to do it in unit forms, it actually equals 8 ones, not 8 tenths. So here is our thinking of proving that Jace Jackson is incorrect. And here is the correct solution to the problem. And that finishes up lesson 17. And then we will get into more division on the next lesson.